I know it sounds crazy, but the only reason I ever pretended to be hopelessly in love with Emily Carter, the cold, untouchable heiress of the Carter family, was to avoid a ridiculous arranged marriage my family was trying to push on me. They thought they could control my life just because they had money and influence, but I had a plan. A twisted, desperate, oddly genius plan. I picked the most impossible girl in our entire social circle, the one everyone knew didn't give guys the time of day, and I put on a show 3 full months of being her clingy, lovesick bootlicker. The goal? Make it look like I was head over heels for someone I could never get, to the point that even the girl my family wanted me to marry would back out. And it worked. Emily Carter rejected me publicly and often, never holding back on the "get lost" and "you're not my type" s. Everyone pitied me. Her attitude was ice cold, my reputation became pathetic, and finally, my family gave in. The marriage was called off. Perfect ending, right? That's what I thought until the night of Emily's birthday party. I had arranged the finale of my performance, a big, embarrassing public confession, followed by an emotional exit, me disappearing into the night like some tragic hero. But fate decided to flip the script. Just as I delivered my dramatic speech under the spotlight, the chandelier above me broke loose. The damn thing came crashing down. And before I could even blink, Emily, the same girl who'd ignored me for months, threw herself at me and pushed me out of the way. She saved my life. She ended up in the hospital with a head injury, unconscious. And everything got messed up from there. When I rushed to her hospital room after she woke up, I was expecting awkwardness at best, indifference at worst. But the moment she saw me walk in, she narrowed her eyes, scanned the people around her, and asked in the coldest voice I'd ever heard, "Who bullied my husband?" I froze. Everyone else did too. Her sister, Zoe Carter, tried to clarify that nobody bullied me, but Emily wasn't convinced. "Then why are his eyes so red?" she asked, staring straight at me. I hadn't even realized I looked that rough. I'd been up all night waiting for updates and hadn't slept at all. When I asked cautiously, "Who do you think I am?" she replied without missing a beat, "My boyfriend." The silence in that hospital room could have shattered glass. The doctor said her memory might be foggy due to the trauma, and she might confuse details or insert things she believes are true. But the real twist? She believed we were in love. Deeply in love. Like, ride or die, power couple love. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't a complete monster. I couldn't just take advantage of her amnesia. So I sat her down and explained everything, how I chased her for 3 months, how she always rejected me, how we were never a real couple. But she kept looking at me like I was the one lying. "They said I got hurt saving you," she argued, eyes fierce. "If I didn't like you, why would I risk my life for you?" I didn't have an answer. Because that part didn't make sense. Not at all. But she wasn't done. She grabbed my wrist, placed it against her chest, and said, "Then why does it hurt here when I see you cry?" I yanked my hand away like I touched fire. My heart was thudding like a war drum, and I hated that it was from something other than guilt. She kept pressing. "You said you pursued me. I don't remember rejecting you. So why don't you take this chance to get me now?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was the same girl who made me feel like garbage just a week ago. But I couldn't bring myself to say it. That I didn't love her. That I never did. Not really. I pursued her to get out of a marriage, not because I had actual feelings. I was just trying to play the part of the tragic simp. I even arranged the whole birthday party confession to mark the end of my fake heartbreak arc. But she blew all that up the second she saved me. And now here we were, trapped in a story I never meant to write, where the girl I pretended to love suddenly believed we were soulmates and was willing to prove it. I didn't know whether to run or stay. All I knew was, this wasn't going to be as easy as walking away anymore. Not with Emily looking at me like I was the love of her life. Not with this weird, warm feeling starting to stir in my chest. Not after what she did for me. And definitely not with the storm that was about to hit once she got out of that hospital bed. Yeah. I was so screwed. I swear I've never been more confused in my life than I was that week in the hospital with Emily Carter, my fake crush turned accidental savior turned amnesiac girlfriend who suddenly thought we were a couple madly in love because apparently, after getting hit in the head, her first instinct was to protect her husband like some overprotective mafia wife in a K-drama. And the worst part? She was terrifyingly convincing. Zoe, her younger sister and professional chaos distributor, tried to help clarify things, but every time she opened her mouth, she just made it worse. When Emily asked why my eyes were red, Zoe said, maybe he didn't sleep, but that only made Emily more upset, like someone had dared to mistreat her beloved boyfriend. No one calls him my boyfriend, not even you, she snapped, why are you acting like we're strangers? Zoe nearly fainted, and I just stood there wondering how my fake heartbreak plan had turned into an accidental engagement. When we were finally alone, Emily sat on the hospital bed, held my hand like it was sacred, and whispered with utter sincerity, I remember us being together. I know it. I can feel it. So why is everyone saying I didn't like you? I tried to keep my face neutral, but inside I was screaming. Because it's true, I said as gently as I could. You used to ignore me. You barely looked at me. You once tossed my love letter in the trash without even reading it. But she shook her head with a faint blush creeping up her cheeks, that's not true. I picked it up later. I even changed the name on the envelope to mine. I literally short-circuited. What did she just say? She fished the damn letter out of the trash. And changed the name on the envelope. That was psychotic or adorable. I couldn't decide. You made that up, I said, laughing awkwardly, hoping she was kidding. No, she said dead serious, I even still have it at home. My soul left my body. I started scrambling to regain control of the conversation, reminding her how she once flinched when I tried to hand her a towel. It's called physiological rejection, I told her. I googled it. That means you didn't even want physical contact with me. But Emily, being Emily, stammered and blushed and eventually admitted, that's because I didn't want to. Lose control. What the hell did that even mean? Lose control how? Of her emotions? Her clothes? My sanity? Before I could ask, she leaned in close and added, if I didn't like you, why did I save you? Why does my heart hurt when you cry? And then she took my hand again and placed it over her chest, like we were in some tragic soap opera. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But mostly I wanted to keep my hand right there. And that scared the hell out of me. The truth is, I didn't pursue Emily because I liked her. I pursued her because she was the most impossible girl in the entire city, and I needed an ironclad excuse to get my family to back off from the arranged marriage. She was the symbol of unattainable. The fact that she ignored me only made my plan stronger. I figured I'd chase her until I was publicly humiliated, cry a little for dramatic effect, and then retreat like a wounded simp with my freedom intact. But now she was staring at me like I was her entire universe. When I hesitated to go along with it, she narrowed her eyes and asked, so you're just going to deny our relationship now that I lost my memory? I opened my mouth to explain, but she didn't give me the chance. You said you loved me. You chased me. You never gave up. What changed? What changed? Everything. You remembered the wrong script, that's what changed. She paused, lowered her voice, and said something that nearly stopped my heart. You're not denying it because you don't love me. You're denying it because I wouldn't let you touch me before, right? And that's when I realized we were on entirely different pages. She thought my hesitation was about sex. I thought my hesitation was about morals, legality, and not catching a felony charge. She grabbed my wrist and said, I'll let you. You can touch me now. Please. My brain short-circuited. I didn't even get a chance to respond before she reached for her phone and said, I'll record it. You can keep it as evidence, so I won't blame you when I recover. She hit record and said clearly into the mic, please, James Walker, touch me. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I was so frozen, I didn't even resist when she guided my hand. No, grabbed my hand and shoved it inside her loose hospital gown. Her collar had already been unbuttoned, by the way. I don't know if she planned this or just had really fast fingers. I was trying so hard to stay stoic, to not react, but my face was heating up like a furnace and my hands had a mind of their own. And when she moved my hand lower, her skin against mine, her breath catching just a little, I lost all ability to pretend I wasn't affected. But then, the worst thing happened. She leaned in, and I accidentally slipped forward, falling right on top of her. She gasped. Her whole body tensed. And I swear I almost died of a heart attack. I scrambled off her like I'd been burned, yanked my hand back, and said in the most defensive voice possible, "Fine, don't let me touch you then." She grabbed my hand again, whispered, "Go ahead," and looked at me like she was offering me the keys to paradise. I had to get out. Before I completely lost my mind, I made up some excuse and said I was going to the bathroom. But even that didn't help, because just outside the room, I overheard Zoe and Emily whispering some nonsense about how to make me fall for her again. Zoe actually suggested Emily might not be hot enough for me. And Emily, God help me, checked. Like, physically opened her shirt and evaluated her chest. I almost passed out. Then Zoe gave her a pep talk about how smart I was and how I probably figured out everything already. And Emily? She actually agreed. My boyfriend is very smart, she said, like it was a fact of the universe. At that point I knew I was losing control of the situation. This wasn't about avoiding marriage anymore. This wasn't even about guilt. It was about survival. Because if I stayed in that hospital any longer, one of two things was going to happen: either I was going to cave and pretend to love her back, or I was going to fall in love for real. Both options were terrifying. And worse? I had no idea which one I was leaning toward. But something told me that once Emily was discharged, things were only going to spiral even further. The day Emily got discharged from the hospital, I thought I was finally free, finally able to escape the fake relationship, the awkward tension, the emotional whiplash. But of course, I was wrong, because not even 10 minutes after I got home, the doorbell rang and there was Zoe Carter standing on my porch, holding her sister like a door-to-door delivery service for chaos, and before I could even blink, she said, "Hey, bro-in-law, Emily's got a headache again and insisted on seeing you." I blinked. Emily nodded seriously like she was in some soap opera and said, "It really started hurting the second we got in the car." I didn't even get a chance to question why the solution to a headache was me before she added, "But I feel better now that I'm looking at you." I swear I died a little inside. The way Zoe wrinkled her face said even she thought that line was disgusting, and she was the one who helped stage this whole circus. Then came the excuse parade. Emily didn't want to go back to her place because it gave her bad vibes. The villa was being checked for safety, Zoe's apartment was too cramped, and supposedly all their other properties were under renovation. Like they thought I wouldn't see through that ridiculous script. I could practically hear the two of them rehearsing lines in the hospital hallway. Still, I couldn't bring myself to say nonnet after what she'd done for me. Besides, my house had more than enough space. So I sighed, stepped aside, and said, "Fine, just a few days." Emily beamed like she just won the lottery. "You're the best," she said, while Zoe added, "You're so kind, bro-in-law. And hot." I ignored her and walked straight to the bathroom because that was the only safe space left in my life. But of course, the universe wasn't done screwing with me, because right as I shut the door, I heard Zoe's excited voice echo through the house, "Sister, see? He still loves you. Look at all your pictures still up on his wall." And I froze mid-hand wash because I'd completely forgotten I'd left all the fake romantic photos around the house, the ones I used to sell the illusion that I was madly in love with Emily. The same ones she now looked at like they were hard proof of my undying devotion. Great. All my carefully constructed denials just went up in flames. I stayed in the bathroom for way longer than necessary, trying to collect myself, but that didn't help either, because the house walls were too damn thin and Zoe's voice carried like a megaphone. "Sister, he's just shy. That's why he denied everything. He doesn't want to admit he still likes you." And Emily, bless her dumb heart, took that as gospel. Then came the guilt trip. Later that night, I overheard Emily muttering to Zoe, "Was I that cold to him before? Did I make him hate me?" Zoe, who clearly had no survival instinct, replied, "You weren't that cold, but yeah, you kinda ignored him a lot. Still, that's just your style, right?" I wanted to interrupt, but I kept my mouth shut because hearing them talk about me like I was some tragic hero was both hilarious and horrifying. And then Emily muttered something that actually hurt, "No wonder he doesn't want me anymore." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I wanted to scream, "Lady, I never wanted you in the first place, but now." That wasn't entirely true. Somewhere between her saving my life and shoving my hand into her gown, something had shifted. I still wasn't ready to admit it, but it was there, simmering under the surface. The next day, I bought her some clothes on a whim, nothing fancy, just something casual to wear around the house, and left the bag by the bathroom door while she showered. She opened the door a crack, took the bag without a word, and closed it again. I figured she'd come out in a hoodie or a t-shirt. Nope. She came out in a maid outfit. A freaking maid outfit. I dropped the apple one was peeling. She looked confused. "Isn't it cute?" My brain fried. Nosebleed? Check. Short circuit? Double check. I barely managed to croak out, "Where did you get that?" Turns out, she'd mixed up the bags. I'd accidentally grabbed a gift my friend Alex bought for his girlfriend as a joke. The universe had it out for me. I tried to explain, but she looked so proud, like she'd just aced some loyalty test, and said, "It's okay if it wasn't meant for me. I'll buy another one and wear it better next time." That's when I knew I had to reset this whole situation before I lost my grip completely. I messaged Alex to take his damn outfit back, but the damage was already done. Emily was twirling in front of the mirror, asking me if I thought she looked hot, and I had to turn away and pretend I was interested in peeling another apple just to keep from combusting on the spot. But things didn't calm down. She followed me around the house, sat too close on the couch, asked questions like, "Do you like this version of me better than the old me?" and even tried to kiss me again. I dodged, panicked, and mumbled something about talking later. She didn't push, but the look in her eyes told me she was getting ideas. Dangerous ideas. And the worst part? I didn't hate it. Not entirely. I kept trying to remind myself this wasn't real, that I had pursued her as a tactic, that everything between us was a performance. But the way she smiled now, the way she acted like I meant something to her. It was getting hard to keep track of what was fake and what wasn't. Especially when her sister kept fanning the flames like a deranged matchmaker. Zoe would randomly pop in, praise Emily's cooking, compliment the decor, and then sneak in comments like, "You two make such a great couple," while stuffing her face with my snacks. And every time I tried to push Emily away, she just looked sad. Like she was disappointed, not surprised. Like she already knew I'd say no but was hoping this time would be different. I was playing a game I didn't even want to win, and somehow, I was still losing. And then came the night I caught her standing in the kitchen alone, making me dinner, wearing that damn white apron over her oversized sweater, humming to herself like she belonged there. It hit me like a truck. I had built this fake romance to escape something I didn't want, but now I had no idea how to escape the thing I might accidentally want for real. I thought I was managing the chaos well enough, gritting my teeth through the maid outfit, deflecting Emily's clinginess with awkward sarcasm, and pretending that I wasn't 3 seconds away from losing my mind every time she leaned a little too close. But that illusion shattered the moment I came home and found her standing at the mirror, wearing the white skirt I'd definitely never bought her, twirling like it was prom night and asking, "Do I look good?" And I, in a moment of sheer male weakness, forgot how to breathe because yeah, she looked more than good. She looked like trouble wrapped in lace and lip gloss, and my body reacted faster than my brain. My nose literally started bleeding like some walking cliché, and she rushed over with tissues, pressing her chest into my face in the process, which only made the bleeding worse, and I had to physically push her back before I passed out from blood loss, yelling something stupid like, "Don't come near me," while internally praying for mercy from the gods of self-control. She backed off, biting her lip, hurt but still determined, and I knew that look. She wasn't giving up, she just needed a new angle. That night, I got a text from Alex saying he accidentally mixed up our shopping bags. Thanks, bro. A little late, and while I was replying, trying to cover my tracks, Emily softly asked behind me, did I not wear it the way you wanted? My fingers froze over the screen. She looked so uncertain, so vulnerable, like she wasn't just fishing for compliments but genuinely worried I didn't find her attractive. I wanted to scream that she looked way too attractive, but I forced myself to explain that the clothes weren't meant for her, that I'd given her the wrong bag, and her eyes flickered with something unreadable before she smiled and said, "Oh, it's okay. But I kind of tore it when I took it off, so I'll pay you back, okay?" Then she handed me the ripped fabric like a peace offering, and my soul nearly left my body because even torn, it still smelled like her shampoo, and I had to mentally recite the alphabet backwards just to not go feral. She followed me around the house asking if she looked good, again and again, until I finally snapped and told her to put some damn clothes on before I lost whatever fragile shred of decency I had left. She pouted, pulled on an oversized hoodie, and finally sat down, but not before whispering, "If you like it, I'll wear it again. Or less." I knew I had to put an end to this madness before I did something irreversible, so I locked myself in my room, lay down, and tried to think pure thoughts: taxes, spiders, traffic laws, but none of it worked because all I could see was her in that white skirt, looking at me like I was the only man on earth. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I found her already awake, making breakfast like we were some married couple living in a romantic sitcom. She greeted me with a sunny, "Good morning, honey," and I nearly choked on my orange juice. I told her I was heading out to grab groceries and needed some air, but she stopped me at the door, shoved her black credit card into my hand, and said, "Use this. You're my boyfriend, of course I should spoil you." I wanted to argue, but her logic was bulletproof in its insanity, so I just nodded, shoved the card in my pocket, and escaped to Alex's place like a man fleeing war. When I told him everything, he didn't even look surprised. "Dude," he said, "she likes you. She always liked you. You just never noticed." I laughed like that was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. If she liked me, why did she treat me like dirt for 3 months? Alex rolled his eyes. "Because you told her in your love letter that you liked cold, distant women. So she became that. Congratulations, you played yourself." I froze. Wait. The love letter. The one I wrote her. The one I copied from an old confession someone else gave me. I hadn't even changed the name. I sent her a recycled love letter meant for another girl, and she adapted herself to match it. Holy hell. That explained so much. The cold stares. The indifference. The way she rejected me but never blocked me. She wasn't being mean, she was playing a role I accidentally asked for. I rushed back home like I was being chased, only to walk in on Emily in the kitchen, humming while chopping vegetables, with Zoe beside her snacking on a cucumber and saying, "Bro-in-law used to make you bento and you threw it out. Now you're here recreating every one of those lunches." Emily replied calmly, "I didn't throw them out. I just pretended not to like them so he wouldn't notice how much I did." My heart did this weird little somersault in my chest, like it didn't know whether to melt or panic. Zoe caught me in the doorway and grinned. "He's back," she said, and Emily froze with the knife midair, like she'd been caught doing something embarrassing. She tried to recover by complimenting my grocery haul, even though it was mostly instant noodles and whatever was on sale. We had dinner together, awkward but soft, and I noticed how she didn't even flinch when she saw the carrots in the dish, carrots she used to throw away immediately. "I like them now," she said without blinking. Zoe almost choked, "You hated them 2 weeks ago." Emily's face dropped, and the chopsticks in her hand snapped in half. I tried to defuse the tension by brushing it off, but she stood up suddenly and muttered something about needing the bathroom. I watched her disappear and felt this horrible pang in my chest. Did I just make her cry? I waited a few minutes, then followed. She was inside, scolding herself in whispers, "You're so dumb, of course he doesn't want you, you can't even recognize his food." My heart cracked a little. I knocked on the door gently, "I got you something. Try it on when you come out, okay?" She opened the door just a crack, took the bag without looking at me, and shut it again. Minutes later, she stepped out, wearing a tank top and shorts, and I almost dropped the apple again. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know where this was all going. Because if she was pretending, she was doing too good a job. But if it was real, if she really remembered everything and was just choosing to love me this way now, then I needed to brace myself, because I was already way too deep to climb back out clean. The next morning, something felt off the moment I walked into the kitchen and saw Emily already dressed, hair done, sipping coffee like she hadn't just turned my entire life upside down over the past week. She was calm, distant, even, not cold, but different, and for a second, I couldn't figure out what changed until I noticed the planner next to her elbow and heard her casually mention she was going back to the office today, and that's when it hit me like a freight train. She remembered everything, like everything, and this version of her, the one sitting across from me with the soft, professional smile, was the original Emily Carter I first met, the one I picked for my unreachable Ice Queen strategy 3 months ago, except now, she wasn't glaring or telling me to get lost. She was asking if I needed anything from her driver on the way out. I blinked hard and tried to play it cool, but my voice cracked when I asked, "So, now that your memory's back, when are you moving out?" And she tilted her head and looked at me like I was the crazy one, saying, "Why would I move out? I still have a question for you." I didn't even get a chance to respond before she added, "Why did my boyfriend confess to me at my birthday party, then vanish without waiting for my answer?" And that's when I realized I was screwed. Because while she might have lost her memory after saving me, she hadn't forgotten that night or anything before it. "I thought you didn't like me," I mumbled like an idiot. "You always ignored me, so I figured why wait to be rejected?" She stared me down, eyes narrowed, and I swear I could see the betrayal written across her face. "You gave up on me. Just like that?" I panicked. "No, I mean, yes, but it was complicated. You were cold, and I thought it was hopeless." She exhaled slowly and looked down at her coffee, then back up at me. "James, I only pretended to be cold because of your love letter. The one where you said you liked girls who were distant and hard to get. And there it was, the ultimate misunderstanding, born from the dumbest mistake in history." I couldn't look her in the eye. "I didn't even write that letter. It was something I copied in a rush from a confession someone once sent me. I didn't change the name. I didn't think you'd ever read it." She blinked, stunned, then laughed without humor. "So all this time, I was faking indifference to impress a guy who wasn't even really in love with me?" I winced. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. I picked you because you were the hardest to chase. It was all supposed to be part of a plan to cancel my arranged marriage. You weren't supposed to actually like me." Emily's smile dropped. "And yet I did." Her voice was quiet, too quiet. "I read every letter. I kept every lunchbox. I even stalked your old social media just to see if you posted about me." I blinked. "You did what now? Don't change the subject." Her tone sharpened. "You didn't like me when you were chasing me. So when did that change?" I hesitated. I couldn't pinpoint the exact moment. Maybe it was when she called me her husband in front of a room full of people, maybe it was when she shoved me out of the way of a falling chandelier, or maybe it was when she told me, completely unbothered, "Touch me if that's what you need to believe this is real." I didn't know when it changed, but I knew it wasn't fake anymore. I ran a hand through my hair, heart pounding like a drum solo, and said, "I don't know when it happened. I just know that now, I can't stop thinking about you. And not because I have to, but because I want to." Emily stepped closer, took my hand, and placed it against her chest again, just like she did in the hospital. "Then stop pretending it's not real." I laughed under my breath. "You were pretending too, weren't you?" She shrugged, unapologetic. "Maybe. But only because I didn't think you'd ever admit how you really felt." "So what now?" I asked, looking at her lips, dangerously close. "Now," she whispered, "you kiss me like we're not pretending anymore." And so I did. I kissed her. Not because she asked, not because of some twisted obligation, but because for the first time in this whole chaotic mess, it felt right. She kissed me back like she'd been waiting her whole life for it, and just before I lost all sense of space and logic, she whispered in my ear, "You can touch me too, boyfriends have full access." I pulled away, breathless, and deadpanned, "Wow." That memory came back real quick. She grinned, smug as hell, "Selective amnesia, baby." And just like that, the game we started to avoid love turned into something real, something dangerous, something I wasn't ready to lose, and whether she remembered every detail or not, I was already in too deep to pretend otherwise. Waking up next to Emily the next morning felt unreal, not because we'd done anything wild the night before, though we came dangerously close, but because she was curled up beside me like she actually belonged there, head resting on my shoulder, one arm draped across my chest like claiming her territory, and for once, I wasn't confused, or panicked, or overthinking things. I was just still, like something in me had finally stopped running. She opened her eyes slowly and smiled like I was the first thing she wanted to see, then whispered, "Good morning, boyfriend," and yeah, my heart did that dumb flip thing again, because this time it wasn't forced, it wasn't a lie, and it definitely wasn't a role either of us was playing anymore. We got up and made breakfast together, which was mostly her laughing at my terrible egg flipping and me pretending not to care that she looked like a damn magazine cover in just my oversized t-shirt. Zoe showed up halfway through with a smug grin and a ridiculous amount of commentary, like she was the narrator of some rom-com we hadn't agreed to film, but Emily just threw a pancake at her and said, "He's mine now, go get your own." Zoe rolled her eyes, stole a bite off my plate, and mumbled something about being unappreciated after risking her youth as an accomplice, then skipped off to wherever chaos she came from. Once she was gone, Emily turned serious. "You know," she said, setting her coffee down, "I meant it. About remembering everything." I nodded, unsure where she was going. "I remember the birthday party. I remember you walking away before I answered. And I remember how it made me feel." I held my breath. "Like what?" She didn't hesitate. "Like I lost something before I even got the chance to have it." That hit harder than I expected. I looked at her, really looked at her, this girl who had pretended to forget everything just to chase what she thought she missed, who played along with my lies just to give me a second chance to be honest. "Emily," I said slowly, "I'm sorry for using you. For choosing you as the scapegoat just because I thought you'd never say yes." She reached over and took my hand. "You didn't use me. You underestimated me. And yeah, that sucks. But we're here now, aren't we?" She squeezed my fingers like she was grounding me. "So stop treating this like a scam you got away with. Treat it like a miracle you didn't see coming." And maybe it was. Because somewhere between all the pretending and role-playing, we became something real. Not the perfect couple people post about on social media, not some idealized rom-com fantasy, but two idiots who fumbled their way into love by doing literally everything backwards. That night, I walked past the mirror in my hallway and caught sight of the framed photo I once staged for show, a picture of Emily kissing my cheek while I smiled like I believed it. I paused, stared at it for a second, then felt her arms wrap around me from behind. "Let's take a new one," she said, resting her chin on my shoulder. "This time, make it real." I turned around, pulled her close, and kissed her like we had no more lies left to tell. And that's how we started, not with fireworks or fate, but with mistakes, messes, and one perfectly timed chandelier. If you'd told me 3 months ago that I'd fall for the girl I only chased to get out of an engagement, I would have laughed in your face. But now I can't imagine waking up without her calling me husband just to see me flinch. I used to fake being in love with Emily Carter to save myself from a future I didn't want. Now I'm in love with her for real, and this time, no amnesia required.